Mühle, West Germany, 1974. In a quiet suburb near Hamburg, an 82-year-old man lives in defiant retirement. For nearly 30 years, Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz, former commander of Germany's navy, has meticulously shaped the story of his defeat. His U-boats, he insisted, were not outfought, but simply buried by the sheer weight of Allied industrial might. Then, a book arrives from Britain, F.W. Winterbotham's The Ultra Secret. As Dönitz begins to read, its pages reveal a truth so devastating it methodically dismantles the very foundation of his life's work and his entire understanding of the war. This is the story of how that devastating secret was finally revealed to its primary target. It goes beyond the legend of Bletchley Park into the brutal reality of the Atlantic Intelligence War, a battle where total Allied blindness alternated with moments of deadly omniscience. The question is not simply if the Allies read German codes. It's how that intelligence was truly weaponized, and how its discovery forced the architect of the U-boat war to confront why his strategy failed so catastrophically. To understand that failure, we must go back to the height of his success. The year is 1941. From his headquarters in a French villa, Karl Dönitz wages a new kind of war. His battlefield is the entire North Atlantic, an arena of storms and isolation covering millions of square miles. His weapons are the U-boats, but his true advantage is information. Dönitz has abandoned the lone wolf tactics of the First War. He has perfected a new doctrine, the Rudel tactic, the wolf pack. A single U-boat finds a convoy, shadows it, and radios its position back to headquarters. Dönitz, the distant pack leader, then gathers other submarines, vectoring them in for a coordinated, overwhelming night attack. For Allied sailors, it's a slaughter. Ships simply vanish, leaving only an oil slick and a handful of survivors, if any. Britain, an island nation, is being choked, its lifeline of ships sunk faster than its yards can build replacements. The key to this lethal efficiency is the Enigma machine. Every order from Dönitz to his U-boats, every sighting report sent back, is scrambled into billions of seemingly random letters. The German High Command believes it is unbreakable. For the Allies, the Atlantic has become a black box. Their enemy seems to possess a sixth sense, an uncanny ability to materialize out of the empty ocean at the worst possible moment. The strategic situation appears hopeless, and yet, the very tool of German dominance, the constant chatter of encrypted radio that allowed Dönitz to orchestrate his campaign, was also his greatest strategic gamble. Every order, every report, every signal was a potential clue, broadcast for anyone to hear. The Germans were confident it was just noise. They were wrong. May 9, 1941, south of Iceland. The submarine U-110 is hammered by depth charges from the British corvette HMS Aubrietja. Water floods the control room. Her commander, Fritz Julius Lemp, one of Germany's most decorated aces, makes a fatal miscalculation. Believing his boat is sinking, he orders the crew to abandon ship, but his order to scuttle the vessel is not properly carried out. U-110 stays afloat, empty and adrift. A boarding party from the destroyer HMS Bulldog races to the prize. They don't know if it's booby-trapped or about to plunge to the depths. Inside, they seize an intelligence jackpot, not just an Enigma machine, but its current settings and the top-secret codebooks for the entire U-boat command network. For the first time, Bletchley Park could read Dönitz's operational orders, often almost as fast as his own captains. The hunters were now being watched. Allied convoy losses plummeted as ships were steered around the waiting wolf packs, but Dönitz was no fool. He knew something was wrong. The question was, what? Throughout the summer of 1941, the Atlantic battlefield changed. Convoys that had been sailing directly into meticulously planned ambushes began making sudden, inexplicable course corrections in the middle of the ocean. U-boat captains would surface to find only an empty horizon where a line of fat merchantmen should have been. From the German perspective, the British had become unbelievably lucky, but Karl Dönitz didn't believe in luck. In his war diary, he noted the alarming pattern of missed intercepts. He ordered a full investigation. His team examined every possibility. Allied spies in his Lorient headquarters, compromised landline communications, even traitors among his own U-boat crews. But one possibility was dismissed out of hand. His own naval intelligence service, the B-Dienst, which had its own history of breaking British codes, gave him a categorical assurance. The Enigma cipher was mathematically unbreakable. Dönitz, a naval officer, not a cryptographer, accepted their expert conclusion. The problem, he decided, must lie elsewhere. Then, on February 1, 1942, Dönitz made a decision that had nothing to do with Allied intelligence, but would change the war. As a planned security upgrade, the U-boat fleet was issued a new, far more complex, four-rotor Enigma machine, the M4. codenamed Triton. At Bletchley Park, the flow of intelligence that had saved thousands of lives stopped cold. The lights went out. For 10 agonizing months, the Allies were blind again, and for the U-boats, it was the second happy time. Sinkings reached their highest peak of the entire war. By November 1942, they had sunk over 100 ships in that month alone. The U-boats were winning the Battle of the Atlantic. The Allies were desperate. At Bletchley Park, a team led by mathematician Alan Turing and his colleagues worked relentlessly against the staggering complexity of the M4 cipher. But their intellectual struggle was aided by brute force and sacrifice at sea. On October 30th, 1942, in the eastern Mediterranean, the crippled U-559 was being shelled by the destroyer HMS Petard. As the German crew abandoned ship, 2 British sailors and a civilian canteen assistant boarded the sinking submarine. In the darkness, with water rising around them, they passed out the new M4 codebooks just before the U-boat plunged to the bottom, taking them with it. The materials were rushed to Bletchley Park. By mid-December, the codebreakers were back in the game, reading the 4-rotor traffic. But intelligence alone could not sink a submarine. As Bletchley Park regained its sight, a new arsenal of physical weapons was finally reaching the front. Very long-range Liberator bombers, equipped with powerful new centimetric radar that U-boat detectors couldn't pick up, began closing the mid-Atlantic air gap where wolf packs had roamed freely. Escort ships were now fitted with high-frequency direction finders, or HUF-DUF, which could pinpoint a U-boat's location the moment it broke radio silence. And, most decisively, the first small, cheap escort carriers entered service, providing convoys with their own private air force. By the spring of 1943, the Allies had both the eyes to see their enemy and the claws to strike them. But this created a new, paradoxical challenge. How do you systematically hunt and destroy the wolf packs without letting Dönitz realize you can read his every command? The answer was a strategy of immense, almost paradoxical discipline. To act on ultra-intelligence directly was to risk exposing it, so they didn't. When Bletchley Park pinpointed a U-boat, a hunter-killer group was not sent to the coordinates. Instead, a patrol plane was dispatched to that specific sector of the ocean. The attack would only begin after the aircraft could report a visual sighting. The official cause was always the plane, the pilot's sharp eyes. The decrypt was a ghost in the machine, an invisible hand guiding the hunters. This system of orchestrated luck was now perfected, and Karl Dönitz, still certain of Enigma's security, was about to sail his wolf packs directly into it. The trap was sprung in May 1943. Believing the Atlantic was his for the taking, Dönitz unleashed a massive concentration of wolf packs for what he expected to be the final, decisive blow. But instead of finding convoys, they found death. Guided by Ultra, merchant fleets were routed miles away from the ambush zones. In their place, hunter-killer groups centered on escort carriers closed in. For the U-boat crews, the ocean itself became the enemy. Radar-equipped aircraft appeared from overcast skies. Escorts hunted them with a terrifying, uncanny precision. The predators had become the prey. The month became known to the Germans as Schwarzer Mai, Black May. In just 4 weeks, 41 U-boats were destroyed, a quarter of his entire operational force. The losses were unsustainable. On May 24th, a stunned Karl Dönitz wrote in his war diary, the U-boat war had failed. He ordered the surviving wolf packs to withdraw from the North Atlantic. The battle was lost, but its central secret remained perfectly kept. We return now to Almula, 1974. The words on the page confirmed Karl Dönitz's darkest, long-dismissed suspicions. The impossible interceptions, the perfectly timed convoy diversions, the uncanny Allied luck, it all clicked into place. According to historian Jürgen Rohr, who met with him shortly after, the old admiral was deeply shaken. It wasn't just radar or overwhelming production. The defeat was a catastrophic failure of intelligence security. An investigation he had personally overseen had declared a breach impossible. Now, the foundation of his post-war narrative crumbled. His U-boats had not just been outproduced, they had been outthought, using his own words against him. The ultimate irony of the U-boat war was sealed in its own design. The very technology that gave the wolf packs their lethal coordination was the same one the Allies used to orchestrate their annihilation.